John Miller had always thought that his years as a soldier would be the most important part of his life. Yet on the day the Galactic Union made contact with Earth, he discovered that his future was going to be far stranger and far heavier than he ever imagined. He stood on the wide landing field in Nevada, where governments of the world had gathered to meet the alien envoys. The sun was bright above him, the heat of the desert wrapping around him like a heavy blanket. But no one noticed the heat. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the sky. The ship appeared without sound. It was not like anything humans had built. It was smooth and silver, shaped like a crescent, and it hung in the sky as if gravity did not exist. John felt his chest tighten. Even after fighting in wars and seeing cities torn apart, he had never seen anything so unnatural and yet so graceful. Around him, soldiers, scientists, and world leaders all stood in silence. The first contact with life beyond Earth was happening right in front of them. Claire Davis, the astrophysicist chosen to represent the scientific community, stood near John. She was younger than him, with bright eyes that had not yet been dimmed by conflict. She whispered almost to herself, "They really are here." Her voice carried both fear and wonder. John glanced at her, noticing her hands trembling, though her expression remained calm. He admired her bravery. Most people would have been shaking openly. The ship lowered until it hovered just above the desert floor. A section of its surface melted into an opening, and a group of beings stepped out. They were taller than humans, their skin a pale blue that shimmered faintly in the sun. Their movements were smooth like water flowing downhill. John immediately understood that they were not simply visitors. They were something ancient and confident, creatures who had crossed stars as easily as humans crossed oceans. Commander Elira, leader of the alien delegation, stepped forward. Her voice carried across the field, not through sound but directly into the minds of those present. "We greet you, people of Earth. The Galactic Union has come in peace. We wish to understand you and to welcome you into the wider family of the galaxy." President Laura Carter, chosen to speak for Earth, stepped out from the line of leaders. She was calm, her face steady. John knew how difficult it must have been to stand before such beings. "We welcome you," she said, her voice firm but polite. "Humanity has long wondered if we are alone. Today we learn that we are not." The words were carefully chosen, but John could feel the tension in the air. The soldiers nearby gripped their weapons a little tighter, though they had been ordered not to act unless commanded. The scientists leaned forward, trying to catch every detail. For a moment it seemed the meeting might unfold with peace and curiosity. As the talks began, Claire was invited to describe Earth to the alien visitors. She spoke of oceans, forests, and skies. She explained the challenges of living on a planet filled with storms, quakes, and heat. She described predators like sharks and lions, diseases like malaria, and the daily risks humanity faced simply by existing. John watched as she spoke. Her words painted Earth not as a paradise but as a crucible, a place where life survived only through struggle. The aliens listened politely, but soon John noticed their amusement. One of them chuckled softly when Claire described a hurricane. Another tilted his head when she explained venomous snakes and how humans had learned to fight and survive. They spoke among themselves in a language humans could not hear, but the tone was easy to understand. They were laughing. Commander Elira turned her gaze toward Claire. "Your world is unusual. Most planets that breed intelligence are gentle. They nurture life, they do not seek to crush it. You claim storms and predators kill thousands, yet your species continues. Curious indeed, perhaps exaggerated." Claire's face reddened, though she remained calm. She glanced at John for a moment, then back at Elira. "We do not exaggerate. Every life here has been shaped by danger. It is why we are strong." The aliens chuckled again, their smooth voices carrying no malice but plenty of arrogance. They seemed to find Earth's struggles amusing, as though humanity were children telling wild stories. John felt anger stirring inside him. He had buried friends in deserts, seen men torn apart by war, and fought through battles where the environment itself threatened to kill them as surely as bullets. He could not bear to see their suffering dismissed as a joke. He stepped forward. The soldiers behind him stiffened, but he did not care. His voice was steady, low, and heavy with memory. "You think it is a joke? Hurricanes, earthquakes, wars, and sickness, these are not stories. They are real. Every day we fight to live on a planet that tries to kill us, and yet we are still here." The laughter faded. Elira studied him closely, her glowing eyes narrowing. John continued, his words sharp but controlled. If you think we are weak, remember this. Everything we are was built by surviving what should have destroyed us. We did not have a gentle world to raise us. We had a world that demanded strength. That is what it means to be human. The air grew quiet. Even the desert wind seemed to pause. Claire looked at John with surprise, but also with respect. President Carter gave the faintest nod, as though to say his words had carried the weight she herself could not yet show. The aliens said nothing for a moment, their expressions unreadable. Finally, Elira spoke. Your words are bold, human soldier. Perhaps there is more to your species than your fragile bodies suggest. We will learn. With that, the aliens withdrew to their ship, leaving behind a silence that felt almost heavy. John breathed slowly, his heart pounding. He had not planned to speak, but something deep inside him demanded it. He knew the aliens were not done. They would test humanity. They would probe, laugh, and perhaps even threaten. But John also knew something else. Earth had given them a warning. Humanity was deadly, not because of weapons or machines, but because they had been forged by a planet that had never once shown mercy. That night, as the stars burned above the desert, John sat alone and thought about what had happened. Claire joined him quietly, sitting on a rock nearby. You scared them, she said softly. He gave a faint smile. Good, they needed to be scared. If they think we're weak, they'll try to push us. And when they push, we'll have to push back. Claire looked at the sky, her voice almost a whisper. Do you think they'll leave us alone? John shook his head slowly. No, they've seen us now. And once you see Earth, you don't forget. They'll come again, and when they do, they'll remember the warning. The desert was quiet, but the weight of the moment lingered. Humanity had taken its first step into the galaxy, and already it had made clear what kind of people lived on Earth. The meeting was over, but the true story was only beginning. The desert night had passed, and the sun once again rose over Nevada. The landing field was quiet, but the tension had not gone away. Humanity had met the aliens, and though there had been no violence, the mood was unsettled. John Miller stood outside the small camp where the delegates were staying, his eyes fixed on the sky. He knew they had not seen the last of the visitors. He could feel it in his bones, the same way a soldier feels the silence before battle. Claire Davis joined him, holding a cup of coffee in her hands. She looked tired, but her eyes were sharp. They think we are weak, she said softly. I could see it in their faces, John nodded. They don't understand. To them, surviving means being protected by a gentle planet. They've never had to wrestle with storms or sickness or predators. They don't know what it does to you when every day is a fight to live. President Laura Carter called for a second meeting that morning. The alien ship returned, hovering silently over the landing field before lowering once again. Commander Elira stepped out with several others of her kind, their pale blue forms glowing faintly in the sunlight. The crowd of humans waited, tense but composed. Elira's voice filled their minds once more. We have studied the words spoken yesterday. We wish to understand more of your world. Show us what life on Earth truly is. Claire was asked to speak again. She prepared carefully, using images and records gathered by scientists. She explained how life on Earth adapted to survive. She spoke of forests where every tree competed for sunlight, of oceans where sharks hunted endlessly, of insects carrying diseases that forced humans to invent cures or perish. She showed footage of hurricanes tearing across coastlines, of wildfires consuming entire valleys, of volcanoes covering skies with ash. The aliens watched, but once again their expressions seemed amused. One of them, a tall figure with narrow eyes, spoke to Elira in their language. John could not understand the words, but he understood the tone. It was mocking. They did not believe. Elira turned her gaze back to Claire. Your world is violent, but perhaps it is your imagination that makes it so. Many young species exaggerate their struggles. That sentence cut through the humans present. Claire's voice shook, but she answered firmly. There is no exaggeration. If anything, our words cannot capture how dangerous Earth is. Every step we take, every breath has been earned. John stepped forward again. He could not remain silent. We survived because we had to. You call us fragile, but you don't see what we've endured. We've faced wars among ourselves, fought sickness that killed millions, and survived disasters that wiped out cities. If you lived on our world, you would not last a week. The air grew heavy, and for the first time some of the aliens fell silent. But others laughed lightly, a sound that echoed like water dripping in a cave. To them, humans were children claiming bravery. John's fist tightened, but he forced himself to remain still. They needed to hear the truth, not his anger. Later that day, the human delegation invited the aliens to visit Earth more closely. A plan was made to take them on a tour of several locations. The first stop was a coastal region that had once been devastated by a hurricane. The city had rebuilt, but scars remained. As the group walked through, survivors told their stories. They spoke of nights spent hiding from winds that tore roofs away, of families huddled together as the ocean flooded their streets. The aliens listened but remained calm, their glowing eyes betraying no true sympathy. Next, they were flown to a jungle where scientists explained how dangerous life could be. Venomous snakes and insects, predators lurking in shadows, diseases carried by the smallest creatures. All of it shaped the people who lived nearby. The locals shared how they learned to adapt, how generations survived by respecting the land's dangers. Again, the aliens seemed unconvinced finally. The group was shown footage from space, where cameras had captured volcanic eruptions and great storms swirling over Earth. Claire explained how these forces shaped the planet, destroying but also renewing. "This is the home that made us," she said. "We learned to endure because we had no other choice." Commander Elira remained thoughtful, but the others grew restless. John could sense it. He knew they were still laughing inside, still dismissing what they saw. That night, when the aliens returned to their ship, John sat with Claire and President Carter in a private room. "They don't believe us," John said plainly. "They think we're making it all up." Carter folded her hands. Her eyes were steady. "Then we have to make them believe. But not through more words. They will test us." "I can feel it," Claire frowned. "And if they do?" John looked out the window at the alien ship hovering above the desert, its silver surface reflecting the stars. "Then we show them why humans survive." The next morning, the aliens requested something unusual. They asked to observe humans in what they called a trial of survival. They wanted to see if the words matched reality. President Carter agreed, though she knew it was a risk. She selected a team of volunteers, soldiers, explorers, and scientists, to demonstrate how humans endured hostile environments. John was, of course, chosen. Claire insisted on joining as well. Together with a small group, they were transported to a desert region under the watching eyes of alien drones. The heat was brutal, the sand endless, and the sun unrelenting. But to John it was familiar. He had lived in deserts during his years as a soldier. He guided the group with calm confidence, teaching them how to ration water, how to move at night, and how to build shade during the day. The aliens observed closely. They expected humans to falter quickly, but instead, they watched men and women push through the heat, sharing water, carrying each other when one stumbled, and using clever tricks to find what they needed. They saw Claire create a signal using a piece of broken mirror, reflecting sunlight to guide rescuers. They saw John lead with quiet strength, never once breaking under the sun's weight. For days the trial went on. The aliens documented every moment, and slowly their laughter began to fade. They saw hunger and thirst pressing down, but the humans refused to give in. They saw exhaustion, but they also saw the way the group encouraged one another, never leaving anyone behind. On the final night of the trial, when the stars burned above the desert, Commander Elira herself appeared before John. She studied him silently for a long moment. "You endure," she said finally. "Your kind should not survive such a world, yet you do." Perhaps the soldier was right. John met her glowing eyes without fear. "We told you. Earth does not forgive weakness. That is why we are strong." Elira inclined her head. "We will remember this. But others in the Union may not. Some will test you further." John's expression did not change. "Then let them test us. They'll get the same answer." When the trial ended, the human volunteers returned to the camp exhausted but alive. The aliens no longer laughed as they once had. Doubt had crept into their minds. For the first time, they began to wonder if Earth's warning had been true all along. But John knew this was only the beginning. The test had shown humanity's resilience, but it had also stirred curiosity and unease among the Galactic Union. Some might respect them now. Others might see them as a challenge. Either way, humanity had taken its stand. The warning had been spoken, and it was not going to be forgotten. The following weeks were tense. The aliens had returned to their ships and were sending signals back to the Galactic Union, discussing what they had witnessed. John Miller and Claire Davis knew that more challenges were coming. Humanity's warning had reached beyond Earth, and some members of the Union were curious while others were skeptical. The skepticism was dangerous. Curiosity could lead to diplomacy. Skepticism could lead to war. President Laura Carter called an emergency meeting with her advisors and the human volunteers from the survival trial. They gathered in a large command center filled with screens and maps. John stood at the edge, observing quietly. Claire leaned over a table, pointing at data collected from the alien observations. "They don't understand us yet," Claire said. "Some of them see the trial and they still think humans are fragile." "They are going to test us further," John nodded. "Let them test us. They'll see that we survive no matter what they send." Sure enough, within days, the first sign of the Union's skepticism appeared. A small squadron of autonomous war machines entered Earth's orbit without warning. Their design was unlike anything humans had seen, sleek, silver, and armed with energy weapons. Their purpose was clear: to intimidate and observe. The human defense forces were ready, having anticipated a challenge. John was placed in command of one of the response units. Claire worked from the command center, monitoring the signals and the machine's weaknesses. The war machines hovered silently at first, scanning the planet. John watched through the scope of his ship, noting every movement. "They're testing us," he said calmly. "They want to see if we break under pressure." The machines fired, testing Earth's defenses. John's team responded with precision. They avoided the main attacks, observed the machines' patterns, and reported every flaw to Claire. Within hours, humanity's combined forces disabled several machines, forcing the rest to retreat. John watched as the retreating machines disappeared into the blackness of space, knowing that the aliens were observing everything. Back at the command center, Claire spoke urgently. "They underestimated us. They think we're young and weak. We've shown them we can fight, but now they'll try more complex challenges." John rubbed his chin. "Good. The more they push, the more they learn. And every time they push, they find out why humans endure." The Alien Council called for a formal investigation. Commander Elira reported on what they had seen. "Humans are unpredictable. They adapt quickly. They have strategy, courage, and determination. We underestimated them." Other council members, however, argued differently. Admiral Korvek, a high-ranking officer, spoke with disdain. "This is only one planet. They survived a few machines, but they are fragile. I propose a larger test." Elira's glowing eyes narrowed. "Do not underestimate them again. The survival trial proved their ability to endure far beyond what we anticipated." Korvek ignored her warning. He dispatched a larger fleet toward Earth, claiming it was a training exercise for the Union's forces. The humans noticed the fleet moving through scanners and quickly prepared for potential conflict. President Carter and her advisors remained calm but alert. She knew that diplomacy might not stop the next challenge. John and his team were mobilized immediately. The fleet's approach was faster than expected, but the humans were ready. Claire coordinated defensive measures from the command center, analyzing the alien fleet's formations and relaying strategies to John. When the alien fleet arrived in orbit, they did not attack immediately. They deployed drones to scan Earth's cities, attempting to test human reactions. John led a counter-operation to intercept the drones, using a combination of stealth tactics and adaptive weapons designed by Earth's engineers. The drones were disabled one by one, and some were captured for study. Each success boosted the confidence of the human defenders and sent a clear signal to the observers. From the alien ships, the fleet watched with growing concern. The humans were not behaving like a weak species. They were intelligent, coordinated, and capable of learning from every move. Korvek's confidence began to falter, and Elira's earlier warning echoed in his mind. Perhaps humanity was more dangerous than he had believed. On Earth, John and Claire planned the next step. "They'll try to push harder," Claire said. "We need to be ready for anything." John nodded. "We have survived storms, earthquakes, and predators. We can survive them. We have to show them that we don't break under pressure." The next day, the alien fleet escalated its challenge. Large attack ships entered Earth's atmosphere, dropping automated defense units designed to overwhelm human forces. John led a squadron of fighters to intercept them. The battle was intense, but humans used clever strategies to divide and conquer the units. They exploited weaknesses in the alien technology that had been noted during previous encounters. Claire coordinated remotely, guiding pilots to the most effective attack points. Hours passed and the humans remained resolute. They had learned from every previous test and adapted quickly. The alien observers realized that the species they had underestimated was not only surviving but thriving under pressure. Each success sent a silent message. Humanity was not to be trifled with. Commander Alira addressed her fleet. This is beyond expectation. They endure, they learn, and they overcome. Perhaps we have underestimated the humans for too long. Korvek argued once more. They are only lucky. They cannot continue to withstand our pressure. Elira shook her head. This is not luck. Luck does not build strategy, courage, and endurance. You will see that if you continue, you awaken a force you do not understand. The alien fleet withdrew slightly to reassess, and the humans took the opportunity to repair and regroup. John and Claire walked among the soldiers, checking equipment and morale. Despite exhaustion, there was a quiet confidence in the air. Humanity had survived yet another test, and the aliens were beginning to understand that Earth's inhabitants were not fragile, as they had assumed. The message was clear. Humanity had survived every challenge the aliens had thrown at them, and each victory reinforced the warning John had given from the start. Humans were forged by their world, and their endurance made them dangerous in ways the Galactic Union had yet to fully comprehend. At night, John and Claire stood on a hill overlooking the base. The stars were bright and the alien ships were distant points of light. John turned to Claire. They're learning slowly, but they will continue to push. We need to be ready, Claire nodded. And we will. Humanity has survived everything Earth has thrown at it. We'll survive them too. John looked up at the stars, feeling the weight of the warning he had given. Humanity had endured storms, wars, and disasters. Now they were proving to the galaxy that surviving made them strong. They had turned a test into a lesson, and the lesson was simple. Never underestimate humans. Earth had grown quiet after the last encounter, but beneath the calm, preparations were underway. President Laura Carter and her team knew that the Galactic Union had learned something important about humanity, but they also knew curiosity could turn into aggression. Commander Elira and some members of the Union respected humans, but others, like Admiral Korvek, still wanted to push, to test their limits. John Miller walked through the command center, observing the preparation of Earth's defenses. Soldiers moved with purpose, checking equipment, coordinating strategies, and running simulations. Claire Davis was at her station, analyzing incoming signals from the Union fleet and projecting possible outcomes. They're going to escalate, Claire said quietly. I can feel it. The next challenge will not be small. They want to see how far we can go. John nodded. Good, let them come. We survived storms, earthquakes, wars, and hunger. This won't be different. Days later, the warning came. A larger alien fleet appeared near Earth's orbit. The ships were bigger and more numerous than before, their hulls reflecting sunlight like sharp blades. It was clear they intended to show power, perhaps to intimidate, perhaps to test the humans' resolve. President Carter addressed the human teams. They are here to test us. Do not underestimate them, but remember, Earth has raised us to endure. We will not falter. John led a squadron of fighter pilots and defense units as the fleet approached. Claire monitored the alien ships, noting their energy patterns, weapon systems, and fleet formation. Every detail could become a key to survival. The alien fleet opened the challenge by deploying dozens of attack drones into Earth's atmosphere. These drones were fast, durable, and equipped with weapons designed to overwhelm human defenses. John's team engaged immediately, using the knowledge gained from prior encounters. They observed weaknesses, coordinated attacks, and adapted quickly. Claire directed them with precision, providing real-time analysis and suggestions. Hours passed as the battle intensified. Earth's skies filled with explosions and streaks of light as drones were destroyed, captured, or forced to retreat. John and his team moved like a single unit, relying on training, instincts, and experience. For every loss they learned, adapted, and countered. Humanity's ingenuity was at work, and it was visible even to the alien observers. In the middle of the chaos, Commander Elira watched with a growing sense of awe. They are beyond expectation, she said softly. Every time we push, they adapt. Every time we challenge them, they survive and grow stronger. Admiral Korvek, on the other hand, was frustrated. They cannot continue like this, he snapped. This is impossible. How can a young species resist our technology? Elira's glowing eyes narrowed. It is not impossible. They are humans. Earth made them strong, and we cannot undo that. John and Claire continued to lead the defense, now focused on the larger ships in orbit. They studied the fleet's movements, noted weaknesses, and coordinated a strike to neutralize key vessels. The battle was long and exhausting, but the human forces adapted quickly using tactics the aliens could not predict. Their resilience was remarkable, and the aliens began to take notice. Meanwhile, on the ground, President Carter coordinated emergency services, ensuring that civilians remained safe. Humanity had learned to endure disasters on its own planet, and now they applied those lessons to a threat from the stars. People worked together, supported each other, and found solutions under pressure. It was a demonstration of strength that no alien could ignore. By the end of the day, the human forces had successfully repelled the alien challenge. Drones were destroyed or captured. Key ships in the fleet were damaged, and the aliens were forced to retreat to reassess their strategy. John and Claire stood together, exhausted but determined, watching the stars for any sign of return. Commander Elira addressed her fleet. Humans endure beyond what we imagined. Their strength is not only in their bodies, but in their minds and spirit. We must respect them. Those who doubt will learn the hard way. Admiral Korvac gritted his teeth, unable to accept the reality. They are only one planet. Their survival is temporary. Elira shook her head. Their survival is earned, and now they have shown us something important. We must reconsider how we approach them. Back on Earth, President Carter called a council meeting. They have seen our strength, she said. The galaxy will no longer view us as weak, but we must remain vigilant. This is only the beginning. John sat quietly in the meeting, thinking of the warning he had given weeks ago. Humanity had survived storms, diseases, disasters, and alien tests. They had turned intimidation into opportunity and fear into respect. He knew the Galactic Union would continue to watch, continue to test. But now they knew one undeniable truth. Humans were dangerous because they had survived a world that never forgave weakness. That night, John and Claire walked along a quiet path near the base. The stars were bright, and the alien fleet could be seen faintly on scanners, still observing. John turned to Claire. They've learned something today. Humans are not to be underestimated, Claire nodded. And we've learned that we can survive anything, even them. John looked up at the sky, feeling the weight of the galaxy's attention. The warning has been sent. Now it is up to them to remember it. Humanity had survived once more, proving that endurance, intelligence, and unity were their greatest weapons. The Galactic Union had witnessed it firsthand, and the lesson was clear. Earth was not weak. Earth had survived, and humanity was deadly. The Galactic Union had called an emergency council. Ships from across the galaxy gathered in orbit around a distant moon, discussing humanity's strength. Commander Elira presented the observations, showing how humans had survived every challenge, every test, and every threat. The council members were divided. Some admired the humans' resilience, others remained skeptical and wary. Back on Earth, John Miller and Claire Davis knew that this was the moment to prepare for anything. Humanity had sent a warning, but the galaxy might still test them. President Laura Carter called for an assembly of leaders, scientists, and military personnel to discuss the future. We have made them see our strength, President Carter said. But strength invites curiosity and danger. We must continue to prepare, and we must be united. John nodded. They will try to push again. Some will respect us, others will challenge us. We have to be ready for both. Claire added, We've survived storms, diseases, disasters, and even the first waves of their technology. We can survive them too. The council began planning defensive measures, studying the alien fleet's possible tactics and technology. Humanity's engineers worked around the clock, creating new adaptive weapons, stealth systems, and defensive strategies. They used every tool, every skill, and every lesson Earth had taught them. Weeks later, an envoy from the Galactic Union arrived on Earth. It was not a fleet of warships this time, but a single, large transport ship, carrying ambassadors who had observed the trials from afar. Commander Elira stepped out, her expression unreadable, accompanied by several other delegates. Humans, Elira spoke, her voice calm but firm. We have seen your abilities and endurance. The Council has debated your place in the galaxy. Some among us sought to test you further, but your strength is undeniable. John stepped forward. We warned you. Earth is not easy. Humanity is not weak. We endure because that is how we were made. One of the ambassadors, a tall figure with smooth, pale skin, spoke in a soft voice. Your survival is remarkable. You have taken what should have killed you and turned it into strength. The Council has learned that humans cannot be underestimated, Claire added. It is not just survival. It is unity, strategy, and adaptation. Every challenge we face, we overcome together. That is why we are strong. Illyra nodded slowly. You have made your point clear. The warning has been heard. For the first time, there was a sense of peace in the human camp. The aliens had witnessed the strength of Earth's inhabitants, and had no doubt that humans were not to be treated lightly. But peace was only the beginning. Humanity had proven its strength, and now the galaxy had to adjust to the presence of a species that had survived a deadly world and grown stronger because of it. John and Claire walked outside, looking at the stars. The alien transport ship hovered silently above the base, waiting for its delegates to return. Do you think they'll come back? Claire asked. John smiled faintly. Some will. Some will watch. But they've learned something important. We are not easy to break. They've seen what Earth has done to us, and they know that we are dangerous. The message had been delivered. Humanity had faced the galaxy, and shown that survival in a harsh world made them deadly in ways the aliens could not fully comprehend. Each person on Earth knew the truth. Their strength was forged from every storm, every disease, every challenge, and every danger that Earth had thrown at them. Commander Illyra stepped onto the transport ship for departure. She looked back once, her eyes meeting John's. We will remember this. Humans are dangerous, as you said. Your warning is not forgotten. John nodded. Good. Let it be remembered. As the alien ship disappeared into the darkness of space, a quiet sense of triumph settled over Earth. Humanity had survived every test, every challenge, and every threat. They had turned intimidation into a lesson, and the galaxy had learned that humans were a species forged by a world that demanded strength and endurance. From that day forward, Earth's people moved forward with a new confidence. They had faced the galaxy in one respect. Humanity had sent a warning, and the galaxy had listened. The world had raised them to endure, and that endurance had made them deadly. They knew that the future might bring more challenges, but they were ready. Humanity would face them all as they had always done, together and unyielding.